So this next gentleman needs absolutely no introduction whatsoever. He is, of course, the creator of Litecoin, created it back in 2011 when hardly anyone knew anything about any kind of cryptocurrency, and he was creating his own. We, of course, have Charlie Lee. He serves as the managing director of the Litecoin Foundation, and he was the director of engineering for Coinbase from 2013 to 2017. Can you please give him a very warm welcome to the stage?
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks. Thanks everyone for showing up to the first annual Litecoin Summit. Hopefully annual if I don't screw things up. I came dressed for the occasion. So first of all, I want to thank all the volunteers who put this event together. They're volunteers. I'm not paying them anything. So I'm really, really grateful for all the work they've done. Can you please, could all the volunteers stand up and show who you are? Thank you. There's still probably a few out there that's helping out right now that can't watch me talk, so that's unfortunate, but hopefully they can come in and switch out with other volunteers. So let's start. So I'm going to talk about 5 things today. First, I'm going to address my selling at all-time high. I'm sure everyone wants to know why I did that. Hopefully it'll be the last time I'm going to talk about that. Then I'm going to go over a little bit about the Litecoin's stats, statistics about what's going on with the Litecoin network and everything, mining stats. Talk about metrics of success. How do I define Litecoin being, whether or not Litecoin is successful? A little bit about the future development, and lastly, about how to achieve mass adoption. So let's start. So let me show you a meme I recently came across. So who's seen this meme on Twitter? So the first time I saw this, I was really upset. I mean, I'm like, it's been already 9 months and people are still trolling me about selling last December, and people just don't understand why I did it. But the more I look at it, the more I realized that it actually is really applicable. I really believe in Litecoin so much that I'm willing to sell everything. So I guess the first question people ask is, but then I don't have skin in the game, right? What if Mark Zuckerberg sold all his Facebook shares? What does that mean about Facebook? That means he doesn't believe in it, right? So why can I sell all my Litecoins and still believe in it? That doesn't make any sense. So I like to explain why, because Litecoin is not a company, right? For a company, the success of the company is tied one-to-one to the stock price of the company. So for someone like Mark Zuckerberg, if he wants Facebook to succeed, he works for his shareholders to increase the share price, right? But for Litecoin as a decentralized money, it really doesn't matter too much what the price is, as long as it's sound money. So if I'm focused on adoption for Litecoin, I'm not focused on the price. The price will go up, the price will do what the price does, but adoption is what I care about. So this is a comic I put together. So Litecoin to me is like my baby, right? I created it. If I had a son, I would want him to succeed in life, right? But does that mean I want to bet $1 million on his success of getting into a college like MIT, right? So if you ask a parent, why don't they have skin in the game with their kids? Why don't they bet $1 million that their kid will get into college? Well, there you see the conflict of interest, right? You want the kid to succeed in life, but you don't necessarily need to have money on the line. Because when you do actually have money on the line, you potentially may have some conflict. The conflict is if, for example, if your kid's not doing well in school, because you have $1 million on the line, maybe you'll bribe the teacher so that they can get into the college that they can get to MIT, right? Is that good for the kid? No, but it's good for your pockets. So same reason why I don't need skin in the game for Litecoin because I want Litecoin to succeed, right? If I have skin in the game, maybe I might do something that hurts Litecoin long-term adoption, but maybe it might line my pockets for the short term. So this is hard to explain to people, right? People don't understand because most people are in this for the money. So they don't understand why I would, like my conflict of interest explanation. So hopefully this kind of explains to people why I did this. And lastly, I sold all my Litecoins in December of last year, but I'm still using it, right? I still use it for purchases whenever I can. And to me, time is more valuable than money. I'm right now working full-time on Litecoin. And yeah, so I definitely have skin in the game because I'm basically working full-time now. And the good thing about me selling last December is that now I don't have to worry about money. So I can basically work on Litecoin for the rest of my life. Imagine if I didn't sell and now I don't have any money anymore and I have to go work for another company and I can't spend my time focused on Litecoin. Now that would suck. Okay, so hopefully that answers everyone's questions about this. And if you see people still talking about me selling and how that I don't have skin in the game, I hope you can stand up and tell them why. So some Litecoin stats. So today, on a daily basis, there's on average like 30,000 transactions and about $300 million sent on using the Litecoin network. That's a lot of money being Litecoin used as money. And the average value of Litecoin sent is about $10,000, and the fees are still really low. It's still 5 cents. So Litecoin is acting as a really good form of money, right? It's censorship resistant, it's immutable, irreversible, it's counterfeit proof, and no one can devalue it. So that's what we're working towards, right? We're working towards a sound money that can be used without anyone telling you whether or not you can use that money for whatever purpose. And it's private, and no one can take your money away, and no one can print more Litecoins, not even I. If I try to print more Litecoins, it will be rejected by a network. So I won't even try. And let's talk about mining. The network hash rate is 257 terahash per second. Number of miners I've estimated to be about 500,000 individual ASIC miners. Total hardware costs, if you want to attack Litecoin, for example, it would cost $150 million of new hardware that someone has to purchase to 51% attack Litecoin. So that's a lot of money. And total electricity usage is about 400 megawatts. So if you compare that to the city of San Francisco uses about 650 megawatts. So the whole Litecoin network is effectively the amount of electricity usage of a large city. So people may say that that's wasteful, but you have to understand this energy usage is actually what's protecting the network. It's actually what's keeping Litecoin secure. So with proof of work, the more energy that is spent on securing Litecoin, the harder it is for any one person, one company, or one government to attack the coin. So with this stats, let's compare it to Bitcoin. So I don't know if you guys can see it, and you probably may need an MIT degree to understand what the hell is going on here. So Bitcoin's market cap is 34 times Litecoin's market cap. So Litecoin is still pretty small. But the number of transactions is only 8 times the number of transactions of Litecoin. And amount sent is 23 times. Average transaction value is 2.7 times. But what's most important about this is if you look at like the mining hash rate. So the total cost for the Bitcoin network in terms of total number of miners that's protecting the network is about 10 times more than Litecoin. So Litecoin is about 1/10 as secure as Bitcoin in that sense, right? It will take someone $1.3 billion worth of mining equipment to attack Bitcoin. For Litecoin, it's about 150 million. So But the price is drastically different, much more than that, right? So I always see Litecoin as silver to Bitcoin's gold to kind of complement Bitcoin and help Bitcoin work with Bitcoin alongside Bitcoin to address the needs of sound money for the future. Yeah, so let's move on. If you guys have any questions about what I'm talking today, feel free to come up afterwards and just ask me about it. Or I think we're going to have a Q&A right after this, and you can feel free to ask me about it. So metrics of success. This is actually a slide that I put up 4 years ago when I talked about Litecoin. So this was before like the recent rise when Litecoin was like maybe $2 or $3. So I defined success as these 5 things, right? First, the most important thing is you need network security. You need the network to be secure. You need the network to be robust. You need people to be able to use Litecoin without the network slowing down or transactions getting rejected or reversed. Second is eventually we'll need a high market capitalization. You need enough money to support the world, right? So if the coin is only worth like $20 million, the whole market cap, it's not enough money for everyone to use. And I think like 4 years ago, that was the market cap of Litecoin. Third is exchange liquidity. So you need the coin to have high liquidity so that people can transfer in and out from fiat, because we're still living in a fiat world today. Everything is priced in fiat, and that's not going to change for a while. So if merchants accept Litecoin and they want to pay out their suppliers, they still need to pay like US dollar or some other form of fiat. So you need high liquidity to support getting in and out of cryptocurrency. And then once we have good liquidity, we want merchant support, right? In the end, this is money, right? We want people to use Litecoin and Bitcoin as money. True, it's a good investment and speculative vehicle right now, but the end game is we want it to be sound money. So we want merchants accepting it, and lastly, we want people using it. So I always check back on these 5 stats to see how we're doing today. So let's take a look at it. So network security. If you can see this graph, it's actually a log graph. So if you look at it like a normal graph, then it will be exponential, right? So in a log graph, when it's linear, the normal graph will be exponential. So over the past 7 years of Litecoin's existence, the network hash rate has gone up, if you count, about like, let's see, so it was like 3 million, 330, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, about 8 orders of magnitude, right? So that is about 100 million times as secure as when Litecoin was first launched. So if you guys have been around since then, Litecoin was protected by CPUs when it was launched, and now it's protected by ASICs. So the security has gone up 100 million times. That's incredible. And yet, the block times has stayed at 2.5 minutes, right? So initially, you see the spikes. It's because people were CPU mining. Sometimes people leave. Sometimes people join the network. So there's some spikes initially. But once it became GPU mine and ASIC mine, it's very, very stable in terms of block times. On average, 2.5 minutes, blocks are found and transactions are confirmed. And Litecoin is one of the few networks that's had pretty much 0 downtime. Once I launched it, it's been working kind of flawlessly since then. And thank you. I mean, and that's thanks to the design of Satoshi Nakamoto, right? He created something that is very innovative, and we replicated it with Litecoin, but it's something that's the world has never seen before. A decentralized network that gives us sound money. So so if we look at it, if you look at 4 years ago when I showed this slide, the hash rate was 1 terahash per second, and today it's about 250 terahash per second. So in 4 years, in the short time of 4 years, we have increased the network security by 250 times. Let's look at market capitalization now. So I mean, I'm not going to talk a lot about price. You guys all know what we're going through right now. But if you look at the long term, this is also a log graph, right? So the price of Litecoin has increased exponentially since the beginning. And although we're in a bear market right now, if you just compare it to like a few years ago, we're actually on an upward trend. And that's all that matters, right? The actual day-to-day price isn't that important to people, to us who are working on just creating Litecoin as sound money. It doesn't matter what the price is. We hold it, we use it. That's the most important thing. So market capitalization since September, it was 150 million 4 years ago, and now it's $3 billion. So the market cap has increased by 20 times since 4 years ago. Next, we look at exchange liquidity. So today, Litecoin is on pretty much all the exchanges, right? So 4 years ago, I told people exchange liquidity is really important, and I'm working really hard to get Litecoin adopted and supported on all the Bitcoin exchanges. And I'm happy that right now, Litecoin is pretty much on all the exchanges. Ironically, the one exchange that Litecoin is not on is Gemini. And it so happens Gemini is the only exchange that is sponsoring this conference. Go figure, right? And also, I was looking at the number of the exchanges Litecoin is supported. It's actually on more exchanges than even Ethereum. It's because Litecoin has been around longer and people realize the benefit of supporting Litecoin. And then we look at brokerages. So brokerages, my definition is just a way for people to buy and sell Litecoin that's easier without doing order books. So companies like Coinbase and Abra and Revolut and Robinhood make getting into crypto, having crypto exposure very easy, right? And I think this is really important. Right? It's good for people to trade on exchanges and provide liquidity, but it's much more important for people to be able to quickly and easily buy Litecoin. So who here has used one of these companies to get their Litecoins? Yeah, and without these companies, it's actually really hard to get access to Litecoin, right? A lot of the smaller coins out there, I mean, there's thousands of coins these days. It's really hard to actually get access to those coins because they're not on one of these big brokerages or not on a big exchange. So I think that's really important for a coin to succeed. And then we also have futures. A company in the UK, Crypto Facilities, recently started trading Litecoin futures. I think these things are also very important for liquidity. Like futures, ETFs, these will come, and it's very important for kind of the consumers, for retail, for institutions to get into Litecoin and Bitcoin. I think these are important. So, and this is the graph of a daily trading volume for Litecoin for the past 4 years. Right? If you look at it, Litecoin trading volume was around 1 million 4 years ago. And it's increased quite a bit since then. So, and that shows how important, that really shows that Litecoin is really being traded and it's getting the liquidity that we need. So how's that in terms of numbers? So in September of 2014, the exchange liquidity was about 3 million daily traded, and now it's 300 million. So we've increased the liquidity by 100 times, and I hope that continues. Next, I'll talk about merchant support. So 4 years ago, when I gave a talk about Litecoin, we had pretty much only one merchant processor, which was GoCoin. So why is merchant processors important? So what these guys do is they help merchants accept Litecoin, right? So if they make it very easy for merchants to add a button or to add another payment option, being Litecoin or Bitcoin or any other coins. And also, some of these also help merchants exchange for fiat for a fixed percentage, like maybe 1%. So this makes it very easy for a merchant to say, okay, I want to support crypto, but I don't understand or I don't know too much about the technology and I don't want to spend too much time trying to figure it out. So they partner with one of these merchant processors, which makes it very easy for them to accept Litecoin. So now we have, at least just from this slide, we have 9 merchant processors and more that really make merchants' job very easy to accept Litecoin. And some of these merchant processors are actually here in this room today. So thanks a lot for supporting Litecoin. And then yesterday I was trying to come up with all the list of merchants that accept Litecoin. There's just a lot, right? So some of these are a few of the bigger names that accept Litecoin. There's thousands of smaller merchants that accept Litecoin. And yeah, I think the key is that we want more and more merchants accepting Litecoin and Bitcoin and crypto in general, right? We want to be able to spend sound money. So yeah, so that's something that I'm really focused on these days, which is merchant adoption. And if you look at the numbers, payment processors went from 1 to 9 plus, so about 10 times increase. And it's impossible for me to count the number of merchants. Back then, in 2014, I counted 500 merchants supporting Litecoin. And today, it's just, yeah, it's in the hundreds of thousands maybe. It's impossible to count. And I don't want to spend time counting. So it's just lots. And lastly, the fifth metric of success is currency usage. So it's great and all that with Litecoin being a secure network, being sound money, and having a lot of merchants supporting it. But if no one actually uses it for real-world usage of spending it as money, then what's the point, right? So in order for people to actually be able to spend Litecoin, you have to have easy-to-use Litecoin wallets. I've harped on this a lot. The user experience is really important for adoption. Right? Back when I first created Litecoin, you had to run a node on your computer. And that's good. That's great for geeks like me, but for average person, it's just impossible to actually run a node and understand what's going on. So desktop wallets like Exodus or Electrum and mobile wallets are really important for adoption. And now we have pretty much we have a lot of wallets that support Litecoin. And I think it's great. It makes it very easy for people to hold their Litecoin. But what's more important for Litecoin adoption, I think, it's hardware wallets, right? So a lot of these wallets, the security is not good. So in the end, in order for you to really have control of your own money, you have to be able to protect it, right? That's the thing that comes with freedom of money, which is what Litecoin and Bitcoin gives. You have freedom of money to spend however you want, but in the end, you don't have a bank to help you protect it. And you don't want a bank to help you protect it, right? Initially, maybe to make it easy, you might use a crypto bank to help you protect your coins. But I think in order for Litecoin to really succeed, people have to have control of their own money. So hardware wallets like Trezor, Ledger Nano S, KeepKey, and Cool Wallets are what really kind of is the next step for people controlling their own money. And just yesterday, we announced a partnership with Cool Wallet. The Litecoin Foundation announced a partnership. We created this new hardware wallet that's a credit card shape size that lets you store your coins on a hardware wallet. But when you want to spend it, it's really easy because it connects to your phone via Bluetooth, and you can use your phone to spend the money. So I think things like this, like moving towards better user experience, is really important for adoption. And actually, Cool Wallet is here today, and they're selling these Cool Wallets for $99 at the booth. So if you want to go check one out, feel free to do so after my talk, of course. And yeah, I think I have one in my pocket right now. I use it whenever I can, and it's really cool. Hence the name Cool Wallet. Yeah, check it out. And all the profits for this Cool Wallet and any other merchandise goes towards the Litecoin Foundation. And as you guys all know, the Litecoin Foundation is a nonprofit. We make money from merchandises, from donation, and we basically spend all that money on developers and just helping Litecoin, help Litecoin adoption. So who here remembers the LitePay fiasco of this year? Yeah, so LitePay, we were very excited about LitePay last year when they, or actually maybe it was earlier this year, beginning this year, when they announced that they're gonna create a Litecoin debit card and also a payment processor focused on Litecoin. So I think we got overly excited and people got really excited about it, but then the company failed and they didn't deliver, right? So then we realized that we actually don't need LitePay, right? We have these are 8 different debit cards that support Litecoin, either today or will do so in the future. Who actually has used a Litecoin debit card today? So we have a few. I think debit cards are really cool where kind of the purpose is you have your wealth in Litecoin or Bitcoin and you want to spend it. So if merchants don't accept it, you use a debit card that is backed by Litecoin. So when you swipe, it sells your Litecoin for fiat and spends it right there. So merchants don't even realize that they're actually supporting Litecoin when you're using these debit cards. And it's kind of a stepping stone to native Litecoin transactions, right? So when you use a debit card, you don't get the benefits of using Litecoin, right? It's not censorship resistant, it's not immutable, but it's halfway there. So hopefully we'll get merchants to accept Visa and then accept Litecoin that way, and eventually those merchants will realize people are actually spending Litecoin and will accept Litecoin natively. So then we look at some stats. This is the transactions graph, transaction counts. So if you look at it, we went from 2,000 transactions a day to about 20,000 transactions a day, so about 10 times increase in the past few years. This is sent in USD amount, so how much money is actually moved, right? What's important for money is that people are actually moving value, right? It's all about transfer of value. If you have a huge number of transactions, but you're not actually moving money, then it doesn't matter, right? It's about moving money. So a few years ago, the amount was about 10 million moved a day, and now we're close to 100 million moved a day. So it's also about a 10 times increase. And then I like to look at this stat, active addresses. So there's really no way to tell how many people are actually using Litecoin. You can look at transactions, but sometimes a transaction can be represented by more than one user. Sometimes one user can do a lot of transactions. But active addresses is like unique addresses that are in use for that day. And this is kind of a good proxy for how popular this coin is. So as we look at the history, this is also a log graph. I'm always showing log graphs, and it's a linear increase. So this means it's actually exponentially increasing. The number of people using Litecoin is just increasing exponentially. And then this is another interesting stat for block size. So we're not running into a block size limit right now, which is good. We have a lot of headroom, but it shows that Litecoin is being used more and more, and that's what's most important. So put this all together, we see that transaction has increased about 7 times, amount sent has increased about 20 times, active addresses and block size increased about 6 to 7 times. So, and this is just the past 4 years, right? So we're increasing orders of magnitude every few years. And if you look at all this, and you think, basically, as a recap, you're seeing Litecoin is really, although the price may not show it, adoption is really happening, on all levels. And that's what I'm focused on, right? That's what I care about. So, future development. I think the most important thing for Litecoin is that it's sound money, right? So what do I mean by that? So are we building PayPal 2.0? No, right? We're not building something that can handle a lot of transaction throughput that can be used for daily payment. That's good, right? But what we're actually building is sound money. So by sound money, we're talking about a new form of money that cannot be censored, right? No one can block you from spending. That cannot be reversed. Once I sent the money to you, once it's confirmed, no one can actually reverse that payment unless, of course, the recipient decides to give it back, right? It's money that cannot be counterfeited, so you can't just create Litecoin out of thin air. And also, it's money that cannot be devalued. For the same reason, you can't create Litecoin out of thin air. No one can actually change the inflation of Litecoin, right? With fiat money, we've seen like quantitative easing a few years ago, where the government just prints more and more fiat. We see that with like currencies like the Venezuelan currency, where the currency is going through hyperinflation, right? But with sound money like Litecoin and Bitcoin, we won't see that because no one can actually just create money and devalue the money you have. So if you have Litecoin in your wallet today, you realize that it's something that just no one can take it away from you, no one can devalue it, and no one can prevent you from spending. And that's actually a really powerful idea, right? We've actually never had something like this previously. So thanks to the innovation and genius of Satoshi Nakamoto, he created something that never existed before. And that's what we want, that's what we're building towards, right? We want to keep Bitcoin and Litecoin as sound money. So, and that's why, I don't know if you guys are aware, last year when there's this whole debate about SegWit and SegWit 2x, people just figured out that what actually made Bitcoin and Litecoin valuable is a sound money property. It's not because it can compete with PayPal and Visa. Sure, we'll be able to do that with future advances like Lightning Network and other off-scale solutions. But in the end, we have to realize what's most important is sound money. So that's why I keep Litecoin as close to Bitcoin as possible, because that's Bitcoin's goal, and we agree that's the goal to have. And it's also important to keep the network robust and secure. In terms of scaling, I talked about Lightning Network, previously talked about atomic swaps, being able to convert your Litecoin to Bitcoin and vice versa via Lightning Network in a decentralized way where it happens or it doesn't happen. And then there's things like Schnorr signatures, which helps us scale and also helps with privacy. And lastly, I want to talk a bit about fungibility and privacy. So fungibility is a property of money that it's something that Litecoin and Bitcoin is lacking today. So what do I mean by that? Right now, if you're spending your Litecoin, you have an option to choose which Litecoin to spend, right? So it's an option that that's nice to have, but it also is very limiting. What I mean by that is, for example, if you got paid in Litecoin, you got like $10,000, let's say, as your paycheck in Litecoin. If you spend that Litecoin, that transaction output, and send it to someone, then they will then know that you have $10,000 worth of Litecoin. They can also go back and track and try to figure out how much money you actually have. This is actually a pretty bad property of Litecoin, right? It's something that, even if you're not doing anything illegal, financial privacy is very important, right? You want to be able to spend money without worrying about people seeing your finances. So as an example, if you're spending $1 right now, you have two $20 bills in your wallet. Does it matter which one you use? It doesn't, right? Because you can't track it. It's actually really hard to track. And it doesn't matter if one was used in a transaction to purchase drugs by someone else. But with Litecoin today, if you, for example, send some Litecoin to someone and it was used for, previously it was used for some illicit reason, you may be blocked or you may be censored. And this is something that's pretty bad for money. So hopefully we're working towards something that would solve this. Things like confidential transaction where it hides the amount, and other privacy developments I think is really important in order for Litecoin and Bitcoin to really truly become sound money where there's no difference between one Litecoin versus another. So all this obviously is still up in the air. Like confidential transactions and other privacy features are actually pretty controversial, right? So in order to work with the legacy financial systems, we have to comply with the KYC AML laws. So things like confidential transaction could make transactions more private, which I believe is a good thing, but also makes it harder to track. So we kind of have to work with the regulators to figure out what's kind of the right middle ground. So it's not for sure that we're going to add confidential transactions, but it's definitely one of the things that we're looking into. So lastly, I want to talk about adoption. All right, so this is one of the tweets I made a while ago. A lot of people come to me and say, like, please pump the price of Litecoin, help me make more money. And I tell them, like, don't ask what Litecoin can do for you, right? Ask what you can do for Litecoin. I think Litecoin is, to me, it's decentralized money. It's the people's money, right? It's not my money, it's everyone's money. So instead of asking what I can do for Litecoin, you should actually all go out there to help Litecoin succeed, right? By that, yeah, it's not, so I don't necessarily mean like go out there and just buy Litecoin, right? Buying Litecoin is one thing that helps the price, but what's most important is actually get people to actually use it, right? So people today, when they use Litecoin and Bitcoin, they may not actually understand what's so good about it, right? Maybe it's complicated to use, the price is really volatile. But once people actually get past that and see what it means to actually have freedom of money, then they will realize what it's all about, right? I bet like half the crowd here may not even understand that fully, right? What's freedom of money? Most people in this space are in it just to speculate on the price. So I want people to actually get past that point, right? Get past the speculation, the investment point of cryptocurrency, and truly understand that what we're building is sound money. And freedom money, having money that just can't be devalued, can't be taken away from you, is really important. And it's something that I think it might take a generation for people to realize what this all means. So what I ask for you guys is to go out there, tell your friends about it, try to explain to them what it's all about, try to convince merchants to accept it, and spend it wherever you can. Although I'm not invested in Litecoin, I still spend Litecoin. Right? I have some Litecoin for daily use. I use it wherever I can, and if I don't have enough, I'll just buy some. And that's kind of the idea, right? I want Litecoin to be real world, global, decentralized money. And we have this site, paywithlitecoin.co. If you're trying to convince a merchant to accept Litecoin, point them to this site. The Litecoin Foundation created this website to really help people understand what this is all about, how it's easy to accept Litecoin. So help us use the hashtag paywithlitecoin and help this movement, right? So that's it. Thanks. So can you put the last slide back up again? If you want the slides, you can get it from the link on my last slide. It's the next one. So it's this one, bit.ly/LTC-summit. So you can grab the slides from there. So I think we have some Q&A. If anyone has any questions. Do we have a mic?
Charlie, I can talk loud.
Okay.
For the first one.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I love the fact of the cryptos and the security and all that's going on with that. What are some of the unique challenges? What are
Testing. There we go.
So with the security of the coins, what are the challenges that you're running into with the regulators? Because I know that's a razor's edge to walk down, to have the security, but also be able to meet, their whatever regulations they put in place. So can you talk a little bit about that challenges and what you guys are trying to do? Because I know some coins like Monero, Bytecoin, they've solved that, but I'm not sure they're going to be accepted as we move down the road.
Yeah, so it's definitely a challenge, right? So one cool thing about Bitcoin and Litecoin is that transactions are actually public, right? So you can actually track crypto better than you can track fiat today. So in terms of regulation, right now, it's actually easier to regulate cryptocurrency than it is to regulate fiat currency. So I think people are trying to figure out what's the right amount of regulation, right? And also coins like Monero, Zcash, they're going towards like more privacy, which I think is important. So it's definitely going to be interesting. We recently saw that Gemini started supporting Zcash, which was a huge surprise to me, given that Zcash is a privacy-centric coin. So maybe when Eric of Gemini is on stage today, you can ask him about it, like why they decided to, how they were working with regulators about that. But from my point of view, like from the developer's point of view, what's more important for us is the network, right? I want to make sure the network is robust and secure. And we have other companies working with regulators on how to work with regulators. And I'm less on that side of things.
I got a quick.
Okay, yeah, whoever has the mic.
Well, I recently read that you guys, the Litecoin Foundation, purchased a percentage of a Swiss bank, 9.9% to be exact, and you guys are aiming towards buying more shares of that bank. And how is that gonna influence changes, and how is that gonna modify the view of Litecoin, knowing that now you have the backing of a bank behind it, which is kind of great?
Yeah, so we purchased 9.9% stake in a German bank. The idea is that we're just trying different things, and one is to go the route of a regulated bank and see if we can offer innovative crypto solutions via that route. And we're actually not going to be purchasing more of that bank. Token Pay, our partner, may purchase more of that bank. And actually, Derek Capel, the CEO of Token Pay, will be talking either later today or tomorrow, I forgot when. You can ask him more about it. There's definitely some development with the bank agreement.
It's very interesting. It's really interesting. I definitely
Yeah,
we'll
see where that goes, right? So there's we're just trying different ways to help adoption.
I think that's awesome.
Check.
We got one right over here.
I got one right here.
Could I?
Go ahead and ask it.
Yes. What's your advice for the software engineer entering the space today?
My advice for software engineers entering the space is to actually just get their hands on with writing Bitcoin, Litecoin code. So read more about it. The thing about the development of cryptocurrency is interesting because it's quite hard to work on cryptocurrency code, because most people don't realize it, but we're trying to keep the network, we're trying to improve the network, improve the code, but we don't want to screw up where there's like a split or a fork, right? If you screw up, it's all about reaching consensus, right? Every block that we find with Litecoin, if half of the network thinks this is a valid block, the other half thinks the other one is a valid block, and they disagree, and they split up, it's something that's really hard to reconcile. So writing consensus level code for blockchain is really important. It's kind of like writing software for a rocket ship. If you screw up, it's going to blow up, right? So this is something that's hard, but definitely encourage people to learn more about it. Andreas Antonopoulos has a cool book about mastering Bitcoin. I think it's really cool. It's really good information. So read up on that and just play around with it.
Charlie, back here.
Okay.
Like you were saying, so fungibility is very important. So to play both sides from a regulation standpoint and the privacy standpoint, do you think there's a way to implement, an opt-in privacy, opt-out when you're, for those, when you're spending money you don't need to show them, right? You can opt out. Is there a way to do something like that?
There is. Like the confidential transaction upgrade for Litecoin will be opt-in. And if you send a transaction to an exchange, for example, they could require you to show them the view key so they can see how much is sent. And this is definitely something that could work. And I mean, that's also why I believe Gemini can support Zcash, because you can do that with Zcash where not all transactions are hidden. And So there's definitely room for that. One thing that's interesting is with coins like Monero, for example, where everything is private, it's an interesting take where nothing is open, right? So if you've actually played around with Monero, you can't see anything. And that's cool. But maybe regulators won't like that because they still want to be able to track your transactions. So I guess we have to figure out what's the right direction to take Litecoin, right? If we go the Monero route, then it will be much harder to work with regulators. But yet I still wanted to have more fungibility and more privacy. So it's work in progress.
Hello. Yeah, I have two questions. First, SEC has explicitly stated that Bitcoin and Ethereum are commodities. However, they didn't say Litecoin is a commodity. So, that means maybe Litecoin could be a security. Could you comment on that part? That's question one. The question two is, I agree that the money, right, cryptocurrency is better than fiat currency. However, there are a lot of competitors for Litecoin, like Bitcoin is a competitor of Litecoin, right? How do you, what's the value proposition of Litecoin? Is it more a store of value or is more for daily usage? Let's say if it's for store of value, it's not a good competitor compared to Bitcoin. If it is for daily of usage, actually, you don't support big volume transactions, right? You have to use the Lightning Network to support that. Once you use the Lightning Network, the underlying coin doesn't matter, right? People could use Bitcoin more than Litecoin. So how overall, how do you compete in the market with other coins?
Oh, that's a long question. Can you repeat your first question?
The first question is whether Litecoin should be considered as a commodity or security.
Yeah, so I mean, Litecoin is really similar to Bitcoin, so it's definitely not a security. And I mean, I think different regulatory bodies will treat Litecoin differently. Like Bitcoin, for example, has been treated as a security. Been treated as a commodity and also a property. So I don't know what Litecoin will be treated as. It's kind of like it's a new asset class, right? So I think people are still trying to figure it out. But it's definitely not a security. I don't think the government will come down on Litecoin as a security. To your second question, so I see Litecoin as finding a special niche in terms of being complementing Bitcoin. So I think what's most important is that it's a good store of value, right? It's sound money, but it can be cheaper. It can be more used for payments on chain when compared to Bitcoin. So I still find there's room for a coin like Litecoin where we kind of complement Bitcoin. And in the end, if we really want it to be used for daily payments for everything, like you said, it will be on Lightning Network. And I think even on Lightning Network, payments via Litecoin will still be cheaper. So I don't know exactly what direction we're gonna go, but Litecoin is always gonna be a cheaper on-ramp to the Lightning Network. And cheaper and faster, right? It's 2.5 minutes, it's much cheaper in fees. So to get onto the Lightning Network, which supports both Bitcoin and Litecoin, it's cheaper to use Litecoin. And transactions potentially could be cheaper for microtransactions on Litecoin versus on Bitcoin. So all this is still work in progress. Elizabeth Stark of Lightning Network will be on stage later today. Feel free to ask her that.
Over here on your left. One question.
We only got time for one more quick
Okay,
question.
one more question. We're running late.
I think the possibilities that come from atomic swaps are fascinating. Can you talk a little bit about that and your ideal end state of how Bitcoin and Litecoin will interact with each other on atomic swaps?
Sure. So atomic swap is the idea where someone has some Bitcoin and someone has some Litecoin, and they want to kind of trade in a decentralized way where person A cannot steal from person B and vice versa. And via Lightning Network, you can do that. You can atomically swap from one coin to another instantly without the ability for anyone to steal or block that kind of swaps. So it's a decentralized manner. So what that means is both Bitcoin and Litecoin are on the Lightning Network. If a merchant is accepting Bitcoin, I can send them Litecoin through Lightning Network and get converted on the fly to Bitcoin, and the recipient will receive Bitcoin, and vice versa. So what does this mean for the future? I think in the end game is that all users care about is sending value. They don't need to care about what the underlying protocol is, right? So whether it's Bitcoin, whether it's Litecoin, whether it's Lightning Network, you don't really need to care. Just like how people who use credit cards today, you don't care and want to care which banks or which institutions have to approve this credit card purchase, right? All you care about is the value gets transferred and you get your merchandise. And I like to see Bitcoin and Litecoin go towards that direction also. So the user experience is very important, where actually you're spending money, you don't care which protocol it's using. Okay, thank you. If you have any more questions, just come find me. I'll be here all day today and tomorrow. Thank you.